the point that I was trying to get at with, by asking the question where the blue dog Democrats went, and I know that, MAGA and the right has taken that ground, that center ground, because the Democrats willingly gave it up. Now, my point was because those people, I mean, really, the way I see it right now is there's normal and then there's abnormal. The Democrats have like chosen, or they've become the party that just is outright against the normal. Uh, Criminals. If you're a criminal, anything but normal. And if you're normal, let's say you're a black conservative, that's what they call anyone that's normal is immediately anyone that's abnormal that goes along with the normal. They like black people that get that that are conservative. They're pilloried self-haters because they go along with the normal societal framework, or because they vote that way. Gay people, if they vote conservative because they're siding with the normal side, they're considered evil because they're not a part of the old school version of normal. It used to be abnormal to be gay. Well, now there's so many gay people, nobody cares anymore. Well, they've ceded that central ground, and the Republicans have taken it up, and now people that would have been Democrats, they're blue dog, or they're Republicans now. What I was trying to say was the whole reason that even MAGA exists, that Trump got elected, was because those people died. Because the people that were the blue dog Democrats, they didn't hate the normal society. They didn't hate regular people. They didn't hate black people who were conservative. They didn't hate gay people who were conservative. They didn't hate people that agreed with normal, that agreed with the rest of the population that's sane, that's normal. Those people died, and what you're left with is all the people that have decided they don't want to be a part of society. They want to be outside of society. They get septum piercings. They dye their hair blue. If they're white, they get a septum piercing, like white women. They don't want to be considered a white woman, so they get a septum piercing, they get blue hair, so everybody knows, hey, I don't agree with normal. I don't agree with normal American culture. That's what they're doing there, is they're signaling that they're abnormal, just like the abnormal criminals out there, black guys that are criminals, because they're not the norm, but they are the abnormal. They're the quintessential abnormal, the people that commit crimes, that break codified norms. Because that's all laws are, is codified societal norms that you get punished for by the state. There's a prescribed, it's a definition of something, and then there's a prescribed punishment. And, those are codified norms. And then you have other norms that are broken, and it's ridiculous, though, because like even that Ukrainian girl, they can't side for the Ukrainian girl. They can't do it because that would be saying normal is good. They can't do that. They cannot do that because they have set themselves up as the anti-normal, the anti-Christ, if you will. They're the anti-normal. And who belongs in their party? Anybody that is outside of normal culture, who doesn't get along in the mainstream. Anybody, literally anybody. Trans people, gay people, or it's not even gay people. It's the activists and the people that have to dye their hair, the people that make it into a lifestyle. It's either crazy rich people that can afford to have luxury beliefs, or it's people that are from another country, immigrants, because they're not normal either. But no matter what, their entire coalition, their entire base, their voting bloc, it's just abnormal people. Anybody that's normal, like, they have rejected so much of the normal culture that even Alan Dershowitz no longer is with them. so many people are defecting to the other side because they're like, these people aren't normal. You know, a couple years ago, they were less abnormal. You know, you could be somewhat normal and still vote Democrat. You can't do that anymore. You can't. You can't because they're they're okay with crime. They're making excuses for crime. You know, like in Chicago, they're making excuses for that. Like, we have to allow. You know, we're their advocate. We're criminals advocates. They've taken. We're advocates for the all the people that slip through the cracks from, you know, from normal culture. The people that, you know, didn't used to have access to school or to this or to that. Well, our culture has done such a good job including people that anybody normal doesn't slip through the cracks. It's only the people that want to slip through the cracks. Only the people that want to be abnormal, and they go out of their way to be abnormal. Like I said, they get septum piercings. It's and Ben Shapiro, he talks about scavengers and lions. I think it's stupid because he's putting value judgments, to my mind. When you attach a lion to one group, obviously they're the better group. You attach scavengers to one group, obviously they're the worst group. But when you say normal and abnormal, the dichotomy between those is normal is just the majority. It's what the average people are. And abnormal, by its very definition, is the odd, the out of place. Not worse, not bad, but not normal. It's just not the run-of-the-mill, the regular. If you run into 50 people, there are going to be those outliers that are just a little different, you know. And I'm not making a value judgment when I say normal versus abnormal. And, you know, whereas Ben Shapiro's making his value judgment, I don't care about the value. I'm just like trying to explain it in layman terms what the Democrats have done. They have basically said, we are going to speak up for the minority, the criminals, the trans people. We're going to speak up for those are the people we're going to speak up for. The illegals, you know. And that's the drug addicts, you know, the homeless. That's who they stick up for. If you're, you know, and then there's this chunk in the middle that's screwed because you have the rich. They don't need Democrats to stand up for them. They can get private security. They don't need that. You know, once you make so much money, you're living in places where that doesn't happen. If you're making six figures, or, you know, if you're making, you know, a few $100,000 a year, you can be a Democrat because you can afford to protect yourself. But if you're only making, you know, you can be a middle class person, you have a house and stuff and kids. If you're, you know, and you might retire one day, but you don't have enough money to afford your own police force. Everybody that isn't, you know, homeless in the streets, and, you know, anybody who's working for themselves, to that bracket, you know, people that are doing well but they can't afford their own police force, that's who the Democrats hate. That's who the Democrats hate. The people that aren't super rich and the people that aren't super fringe and super out of the ordinary. And it's just, it's gotten so bad that anybody, that we say, you know, all these people that say they leave the Democrat Party, yeah, they say they leave that party because they're no longer sane. They're going to where the sane people are. Where instead of just saying, you know, it's not that they're just for the abnormal, they're for the insane. You know, like, it's gotten to that point where you can't be sane and for the Democrats because they're so against, they're against sanity. It doesn't fit their narrative. And it's a damn shame that women suffer for this. They've voted these people in and they're suffering for it. And I mean, people from other countries are suffering for it. It's awful. And hopefully, you know, things start to change. You know, when enough people have had enough.